From Hortspots, I let go of my weight as my responsibility. This one will start off like eating disorder recovery, but soon it'll become clear that it isn't. My turning point was when I let go of my weight as my responsibility. Of course I want to be thin. I've learned and experienced that it is the desirable state of our society. But what is the point of torturing myself through diets, restrictions, and self-loathing, especially when it doesn't work? I'm responsible for taking care of my body, but that means nourishing it, not forcing it into submission. I'm responsible for listening to my body, but that requires a compassionate ear and a willingness to hear what is truly wrong, not persuading myself that health issues will improve with weight loss. I caught myself this morning thinking, oh, I want crackers with this cheese. But really what I want is the cheese, so that will be enough. If I add crackers, I'll just get even fatter. I almost laughed out loud at myself when I recognized the disguised restriction and knew it would lead to eating even more sometime later. So I got the crackers and made some adorable, delicious, and satisfying tiny sandwiches. Careless Hellscape replied, right. And I let go of my skull's integrity as my responsibility. This is why I will no longer be wearing a helmet if I get on a motorcycle. Snoo Habits. If your skull cracks, it was meant to crack. Hashtag skull freedom. Careless Hellscape. Some people have exposed brains, and that's just fine. From Love Dove Bunny. Can HAES prove that sicko doesn't work? Does anyone have links to articles or studies that the calories in, calories out thing isn't a thing for weight loss? I've read Bacon's HAES, but I want more info online, so I don't have to buy another book. Thanks in advance! Does anyone have any alternative facts that say sicko isn't true? I've read one alternative facts book, but I need more, and it has to be online, so I don't even have to put any effort or money into my comforting alternative facts. From Cocktail Onion. Yes, the key to a good relationship with food is eating cookies all day, every day. Hey, wait a second, isn't that a title from an episode about 6 months ago? Someone writes, but what if I want to eat chocolate chip cookies all day? Someone replies, then eat chocolate chip cookies all day, darn it, blowing out steam face. Someone else, but I have diabetes. Intuitively slamming donuts all day got me to this point. IF and keto gave me my health back. And the original person also writes, no, you don't understand. I'd eat them all day, every day. And someone replies, trust me, you won't. If it takes a whole month or a year of that to feel secure with your access to chocolate chip cookies, that's learning how to intuitively eat. But see, here's the thing. I'm 100% secure in my ability to have access to chocolate chip cookies. That's the chocolate chippity problem. Continuing on from Courtney Rowell. I'm genetically superior to thin people. Thin person trying to use somebody else's work to justify her opinion on fat people. Fat person here. My body maintains at 800 calories a day. This includes me jogging 3 miles a day and using a bike. I'm so healthy, as in no other health conditions. None. My body does not burn calories like others. This is a medical fact, as I've been seeing specialists. You know why? Because I'm genetically superior to you. Yes, my body is made to survive, so please stop spewing your uneducated opinion as fact. Exciting Wings replied, genetically superior? That's a weird way to spell bad at math. From Butt Trench Browser. Caught in the wild on a post about cauliflower air-fried wings. Is it healthy? What's the calories? Someone, lol, my first thoughts too. Someone else, don't count calories, brah, that's unhealthy. Wait, how is wanting to be in a deficit or surplus unhealthy? Depressed face. Some people are in a calorie deficit like me. We have to count calories. That's disordered eating. Diets don't work. They do, though. It's just cutting down portions. You're still eating, just not eating a lot. Driving doesn't work either. Every time I do it, I hit a tree. Wait, you guys don't? Don't walk. Last week I tried it, and I met a woman. We instantly connected. We traded phone numbers, and I called her back. But just as the phone was ringing, I dropped it into the toilet, proving that walking is bad. From a bunch of numbers, and this is why we don't trust dietitians, kids. So for those who follow the sub to learn, let me share some info with you. I'm a nutritionist, so I'm sure you can appreciate that a fair percentage of clients come to see me for weight management. If it were as simple as calories in versus calories out, we'd all be slim. The reality is that there's a huge amount of variables, which include things like gender, age, ethnicity, medical conditions, mental health, history of abuse, hormonal imbalances, education, socioeconomic status, toxin exposure, etc. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to weight management. My Asian sister-in-law is quite healthy on a higher carb diet, whereas I'm far better suited to a Mediterranean diet. Telling people that they need to eat less and move more is one of the most damaging things you can say to someone who is struggling with their weight. Someone replied, "Thank you. It's nice to hear people acknowledging that it's not all about the calories. I have several chronic diseases that don't allow me to exercise a lot, just some light yoga. I'm also on birth control and antidepressants. I eat less than ever, objectively, but I gained almost 20 kilograms in the last 5 years. In those years, my body and metabolism have changed a lot. And even eating less and healthier than ever, I barely managed to lose weight. But idiots just think that I'm all day stuffing myself with burgers." Someone else, "Am I right in thinking that it's technically true that it's calories in versus calories out, but that all these factors you mentioned affect the amount of energy we burn? Then, due to those factors, there isn't really a reliable way to gauge how many calories you burn?" The nutritionist replies, "This is kind of correct. As someone has stated, calories are an outdated unit of measurement." We'll come back to the rest of what she says in a second, but first let's look at some replies. Trust Me I'm the Truth writes, "They are right. Calorie is outdated. We should use kilowatt hours instead." Camaro Guy, "Or the kilojoule?" Stealth Dog, "I say we use BTU." Now I'm wondering, do the British even use BTUs anymore? Continuing on with the nutritionist. "Not all calories are created equal, simply because of the nutrients they contain and how the body utilizes them. Calories are only part of the puzzle. If you stuff your face with food and sit on the couch all day, you will obviously have a different outcome to someone who eats well and exercises. However, you can eat well and exercise and still struggle with weight. This is where the other components come in. And please, let's remember that ethnicity also plays a major role. If you're a Tongan, you wouldn't expect to have the physique of a Filipinx." That's right, they used an X instead of an A or an O. Clearly, they are not familiar with romantic languages. "As the genetics just simply won't allow you to. You could diet and exercise all you like, but will likely make yourself sick instead of achieving your dream body. What's considered healthy in one ethnicity is not always healthy in another." I just want to know, what issue do they have with Tongans? I mean, it seems like it's something racist, but I can't quite put my finger on it because I don't even know anything about Tongans. Also, there's no ethnicity where obese is healthy. From Ogie Overkill. "Excess calorie intake will adapt your hypothalamus to set the bar of normality." Someone writes, "Probably hasn't slept in weeks. Sleep deprivation will make you lose weight." Someone else, "Depending on your physiology, it also makes you gain weight, which I find very contradicting." AG Overkill replies to these two guys, "Nothing makes you gain weight except consuming excess calories." He got downvoted 5 times for saying that. Someone replies to him, "Somebody is still holding on to old physiological teachings. Calories do not mean shoe pastry, as excess calorie intake will adapt your hypothalamus to set the bar of normality for calorie intake to the new level. Same goes for reduction of intake. After several months, your body adapts. This is why diets, also known as calorie counting, will never work in the long term. Time to read new studies, my friend. Smiley face." Chose ruins the whole argument with one sentence. If your hypothalamus adjusts, then why is anybody fat? Cassis Oolong brings us, "I've been fat 80% of my life, and there was only one thing that was wonderful about it." The culture wants us to believe that being fat is a terrible thing. The culture wants fat people to be silent about all the wonderful things about being fat. Diet culture knows that if the truth gets out about fatness, it will lose billions of dollars. The OP replies, "And that one positive thing? The cushioning." Mukatsukus brings us, "Anything that measures mass or weight must be untrue." Someone writes, "I put on quite a bit of weight later, then lost it when I started walking to work. I'm now at a BMI of 20.1, whereas I think I fluctuated between 18 and 23 previously." Someone else, "Oh, BMI is bullocks, but you're svelte anyway. My BMI must be in the triple figures." You're probably dead then. Someone else, "BMI is bullocks if you're a pro athlete due to muscle mass, but there aren't many pro athletes." Smile. And someone else, "BMI is bullocks if you're fat too, as are scales or any other method of mass measurement." And that, kids, is why Tesla just puts in yay amount of fuel into their rockets. They don't want to measure it. They know that measuring the mass of the amount of fuel they're putting in is just a bunch of bullocks. Alternately, do they fuel their rockets with bullocks? And if so, are there a lot of very unhappy bulls out there somewhere, crying as they watch rockets shoot off into space? From Wholly Redacted, BMI isn't real because I'm good at sumo. And I would like to let you all know that as of today, at a BMI of 30.00, I am officially obese. We would also like to let you know that BMI is a stupid system of measuring body composition, and we would like to invite any medical or fitness professional who disagrees to come try sumo with me sometime and see how that goes. If this is a woman who's obese who doesn't train for sumo, then yes, I'll take that challenge. I'm at a normal weight and have never done sumo. From Dorkita, stereotyped health issues. Shoe warning, mention of stereotyped health issues. I think I need to vent to some folks who hopefully will get it. I recently found out that I have both high cholesterol and high blood pressure. I now fit a stereotype. A fat person with high blood pressure and high cholesterol. I've been on my journey to heal my relationship with food and my body for almost 3 years now. It's been so good. So good. This is the first time that I have health issues being in a bigger body. It feels defeating. I've worked hard on my journey and learning to trust my body to stay healthy. Even when my body size was increasing, I believe fully that I can be big and healthy. But now, I'm not. I can't say I'm healthy. Someone could look at me in my journey and say, "See, you ended up with high blood pressure and high cholesterol. You aren't healthy, and the way you think about your body isn't healthy." I know what other people think doesn't matter. I just feel frustrated. I'm going to work with an HAES, intuitive eating informed nutritionist, to work on these things. I just feel sad. I have found so much freedom and joy in my journey, and I don't want these health issues to deter others from pursuing the freedom of ditching diets, and I'm afraid it will. Yes, that's literally what all these videos are about. That eating whatever you want, whenever you want, will probably make you obese, and that will make you more likely to get health issues than if you were at a healthy weight, and you're more likely to die early. That's all. I'm 100% open to feedback and encouragement. I'm not beating myself up over it. I'm just bummed and wanted to let it out and maybe chat about it. First off, it's not a stereotype if it's true. By the way, what kind of evidence would it take for you to realize that being obese isn't healthy? You literally have first-person empirical evidence that it's not working for you. From Captain Cork, the classic everything trademark for weight loss, except a sustained energy deficit. Aside from locating an actual fountain of youth, it's hard to imagine something more desired than a drug that would promote weight loss. After all, how many people do you know who have tried everything? Weight Watchers, keto, paleo, intermittent fasting, and juice cleanses have been in the rotation for millions of people with little or no sustained weight loss to show for it. Pakistani Gigolo replied, "Also, people saying they've tried everything have either 1. Tried fad diets for a month and then stopped because they are super restrictive and also ridiculous. 2. Tried sicko for a month and couldn't hack it. 3. Not really tried everything. But to say you've tried everything sounds way better than saying you're lazy. Also, none of these people have tried serious weightlifting, guaranteed." Riley Coyote added, "As an addendum to sicko, they tried calories in, calories out, but did way too extreme of a deficit, and didn't actually change the types of food they were eating. So they wound up binging because 1,200 calories of takeaway really isn't much volumetrically or nutritionally speaking." Yeah, if you're getting takeout, that's like what, 2 Big Macs and a small fry for your entire day's food? That would not be pleasant. Good for Me also added, or they tried calories in, calories out, realized just how many calories they'd been consuming, then stopped sicko to continue to live in blissful ignorance. Or, at least, that's how I was. From Hadrosaurus Rex, apparently thermodynamics is a problematic medical theory now. Had a below-average specimen. Oh no, this isn't going to be good. We're already starting with insulting people, so... Tell me in a Facebook group that people are overweight obese because of the first law of thermodynamics, and that's why people in concentration camps are so thin. Yes, he really used that example. That it has absolutely nothing to do with genetics, the environment, etc., and he doubled down so fast. I work in pharmacology, and my degree is in the science field. I'm studying to be an MD. I have zero issues calling this guy out for supporting an outdated, problematic medical theory, His response, "You must be a flat earther." Bruh, what? I'm betting working on getting an MD equals took a biology class in high school. From Vinoviz, Godwin's Law has entered the chat. Was watching a documentary piece on World War II and the prisons that were there, and they were saying that prisoners were only eating 700 to 800 calories a day. A day. That's what some diet plans allow for daily intake. I will not starve my body like that of one of these prisoners just because some people out there cannot stand to see my fat. Someone replied, a friend was undergoing some severe weight loss under doctor guidance of 800 calories a day. I ate one chunk of cheese labeled to being 800 calories alone. Really impressed me with her dedication and the tragedy of the prisons that were in World War II. OCR Amazon replied, this chunk of cheese was half a pound of cheese. A quarter kilo for everyone who's not American. Are they trying to get backed up for a week? Because that's how you get backed up for a week. Also, if reducing your calorie intake to less than your output brings you to 800 calories, you might be in a coma. So please do the following simple checks. Can you see the world around you? Have you been lying in bed for the last 2 years without moving? If you cannot see the world around you, and you've been laying in bed for more than 2 years, you might be in a coma. From Jarvis Drop My Needle. It really is like talking to a brick wall. The man who invented BMI wasn't even a doctor. It was also only measured on French and Scottish people, mostly men, and of course left people of color completely out of their equation for measurement. Now you have people of different ethnicities and body structures being measured by the way a white man-woman would be measured. Someone replies, but the BMI scale has been updated to include a wider range of people. How is it sexist or racist? And the first person replies, because what I just said, it's a scale to fit one standard of body type, race, and height. So here's the argument in a nutshell. It wasn't perfect at the moment it was invented. Therefore, 200 years later, it's still bad. And that, kids, is why I never use velocipedes. Or, as you modern folk call them, bicycles. From Bunny Bunny. Yesterday, a guy told me my high weight of 5'4", 140 pounds is slightly underweight. Has fatlogic altered medical assessments already? Since when is my 24 BMI underweight? Catch me not believing his girlfriend is happier and healthier at 180 than at 120, and her height of 5'3", rolling eyes. Alright, here's what the guy said. I hate to break it to you, but unless you're still a teenager, that is an appropriate weight, if not slightly underweight. I'm totally cool with you wanting to lose more weight, because you need to be happy in your own body, but you're not overweight. I'm a 5'2", 25-year-old male, and typically men weigh less than women, and when I was 120 pounds I was told I needed to put on weight, after growing up entirely too skinny. I'm now 160 pounds, and I told my doctor I'd like to get down to 145 and be happy. She said I don't need to, because I'm still in a healthy range for my weight. Personally, I'm not too informed about how your age affects weight, but my mom is roughly the same height as me, and has weighed over 220 and gotten to her lowest at 135 at 45 years old and is happy. My girlfriend is an inch taller than me and is 180 pounds. She could stand to lose some weight, but when she started dating, she was only 120 pounds and didn't look healthy, nor was she happy. Basically, you need to take into consideration what others are telling you, but ultimately need to be happy, but more importantly, healthy. What's your goal weight? There's also a difference between 120 pounds of dieting and 135 pounds of working out. Fact: his BMI is almost obese. Also, he thinks men weigh less than women. Does he live with Amazons? And normally I don't like to use the word mansplaining, but his idea to tell her things, even when he has no idea what he's talking about, is infuriating. From Ms. Beaver, about the 95% statistic. 95% of people can't control their weight. If you've ever been interested in weight loss, you've heard the statistic and it's often misunderstood. The main argument people have toward the statistic is, of course that's not true, millions of people lose weight. You can see before and after photos everywhere, and they have whole shows about it. That's why more than 5% you're wrong. This reaction shows that they misunderstood what that statistic means. So let me explain it to you. Alright, we just had some mansplaining, so prepare yourself now for some femsplaining. One of the best types of studies to use when researching a topic is a meta-analysis. When a scientist or group of researchers do a meta-analysis experiment, it means finding every available study on the topic and analyzing the results. So in this context, a meta-analysis on weight loss means that they found as many studies as they could that researched weight loss. Big studies and small studies, recent studies and ones from the 1930s. They gather up all the data anyone has ever published about weight loss, and they sort it out and organize it to look at the big picture. Notice I'm not mentioning the details of the study, like the author's name. But of course, why would they mention the details? Then people might be able to call them out for their BS. They continue. What researchers routinely find when they do studies like this, weight loss is a highly funded research topic, so there are new studies to be added to meta-analyses all the time, is the 95% rule. At least 95% of people are clinically shown to not be able to control their weight. Control your weight doesn't mean lose any weight. It's relatively easy to lose some weight temporarily for almost anybody. If you have motivation in a program, most people lose weight for the first few weeks or even months of a diet. What this study actually means is that any study that looks at long-term sustained weight loss shows that at least 95% of the people gain all the weight back and more within 2 to 3 years. And the 2 to 5% that don't gain it back usually are found to have restructured their entire lives around maintaining their weight loss. It's their number one priority. The bottom line is that your body is programmed to maintain a weight set point that it deems safe and sustainable. Citation needed. We don't choose what that set point is. It's determined by genetics, life experiences, general health status, stress factors, and many other factors, but it is not determined by what we want our bodies to look like. Perler as food replied to all of that. About a month ago, my husband and I ate brunch at a really nice local restaurant. I had a quiche and espresso. He had a burger, fountain drink, sweetened latte, and a cookie. On the way home, he mentioned this 95% statistic and how he wished he was able to be thin like me. Set point weight might be true, yada yada yada. I just nodded along and wrote on my phone everything that either of us ate that day. On top of brunch, he had a pack of peanut M&Ms, a handful of chips, chicken with barbecue sauce, 3 flaky biscuits with butter, and a bag of popcorn. On top of brunch, I had a cup of milk, chicken, 2 flaky biscuits, and a small handful of popcorn. Before bed that night, I wrote this list out on a sheet of paper and was like, "Hey, babe, remember that whole 95% and set point thing?" and just showed him the paper. For a month now, we have challenged him to eat exactly what I do, and it's amazing how the weight is already melting away. I don't know how much of it is water, but he's already down 10 pounds. And that, kids, is probably why married men live longer than single men. From the Ninjana Medley. 320 pounds, but eats exactly the same as a thin person, rolling eyes. I eat within the range of what a thin person does, but from my early childhood, I have lived in a fat body. I weigh 320 pounds as well and walk multiple miles a day, because I have a job that is super active, plus a variety of hobbies and commitments that keep me super busy. I don't have any issues with mobility at all. You can't make blanket statements and just say, "I am this, so I know it's true." Hideout replied, "Simple diagnosis. You're eating too much. Can't outrun a bad diet." From Maisie the Amazing. Lol. Maybe it's because people keep changing their calorie intake requirements. By that I mean the amount of calories we are told is healthy continues to get higher and higher according to FA standards. Diet culture is constantly changing the exercise requirement, someone wrote. Diet culture is constantly changing the exercise requirement. By that I mean it seems like the amount of exercise we are told is healthy continues to get more and more intense. Semipa. I was present at last month's super secret diet culture retreat, where executives and establishment figures in the diet culture conspiracy gathered to plot our next move. This HAES advocate is correct. We did change the official exercise requirement in order to confuse and oppress the overweight. However, our plan to generate more outrage and anger by plotting more caloric information on packaging was shelved. And the plot to develop more bicycle paths in urban centers in order to shame fat people was unanimously approved and will be executed in the very near future. Betty from accounting informed us that she has been buying as much plus-size clothing from thrift stores in order to limit the supply for obese women. All is coming along nicely. Let's take a short pause and look at what Lindo Bacon's doing this week on Twitter. Note they have 16,000 followers, which sounds impressive, but if you actually look at their tweets, you'll see that they get very little interaction. Something like 1% of their subscribers interact with their tweets. So what did Lindo Bacon find important to retweet this week? If doctors talk to tall people the way they talk to fat people, example, thought what would happen if your son grew up to be tall like you, I recommend pushing Billy's head down and telling him how worthless he will be if his height exceeds 6 feet. Really? Lindo, you know this is ridiculous. You have absolutely no control over how tall you get. It is based on genetics. How obese you get is based on the amount of food you eat. You know, sometimes I feel like I'm strawmanning people in the fatlogic community. Then Lindo tweets something like this, and I realize, no, actually, fatlogic is made out of straw. And back to fatlogic. From Maisie the Amazing, is this keto logic? What is people's obsession with calories? Have you not realized weight loss and gain is mainly hormonal? Someone replied, it really isn't. The first person, yes it is. Are you joking? Or just super ignorant. 500 calories of meat plus fat will hardly spike insulin. 500 calories of white bread with jelly will trigger insulin. The other person, consistently eating 500 calories surplus will cause weight gain. Insulin spikes do not cause weight gain. You're the one that's just super ignorant. People can lose weight eating McDonald's every day if they're in a calorie deficit. Is it healthy? No. Is it possible? Yes. Someone else, I lost 3 kilograms eating 3 double Big Macs a day, just to prove a point. It really is just about the calories. I wanted to add that keto's great, and it does help you manage your appetite, but it's not magic. You can, if you eat enough, gain weight on keto. People in the weightlifting community do it sometimes. To me it sounds super unpleasant eating that much meat, but who am I to judge? From Adlayak, correlation does not equal causation. Are you implying there's no correlation between obesity and diabetes or hypertension? Diabetes and hypertension are responsible for CID, strokes, renal failure, PVD, etc., etc. Of course, weight loss helps with diabetes, to the point where some folks totally can go off of meds. Someone else, correlation does not equal causation, my friend. You are speaking to someone who deals daily with the effects of the obesity pandemic in southeastern Ohio. I'm dealing with 40-year-olds with heart attacks, strokes, and even going on dialysis. The common denominator among these folks is diabetes, hypertension. Let's agree to disagree. The fact remains that correlation does not equal causation, so I'm not sure what your point is. Common denominators does not equal causal links. Appropriate experimental manipulations do, and controlling for all possible other factors. Sure, please move on as if obesity and diabetes are not related, and cardiovascular mortality/morbidity has nothing to do with diabetes. Hope you have a great day, praying hands. Related does not mean that they cause it. Basic science. Sure, go on making unethical and inaccurate broad sweeping generalizations that perpetuate stigma that are also associated with negative health outcomes. Celeritas Lucius replies, we can never prove causation between obesity and diabetes. Why? The gold standard for such proof is a double-blind clinical trial, like what they do for drugs, vaccines, etc. So to prove causation, you have to take 50 to 100 newborns of different genders and ethnicities, probably actually more like 50,000, deliberately make them obese over the years, and wait for them to become diabetic. Do you think that's even remotely ethical, let alone possible? For your information, we still do not have the causation between smoking and lung cancer, but we still banned smoking. It's kind of like somebody sticking 500-pound bricks on a kid's wagon, pulling it for 100 meters, watching it fall apart, and somebody saying, hey, it's all that weight that made it fall apart, and then the person going, correlation does not equal causation. You can't prove the bricks are the reason that the wagon fell apart. It was probably caused by stigma. From Twin Sons. Imagine having this much confidence about being wrong. I have never heard of this happening. Hormones only affect your metabolism, enough to cause 10 to 20 pounds of weight gain or loss. If you're gaining weight, it's because you're eating in a calorie surplus, which is, unfortunately, really easy to do. Someone replies, it's not always about eating a calorie surplus. Weight gain can also be from cortisol levels being out of whack, and from not eating enough, since the body will hold on to whatever we give it if it's unsure when it will eat again. That's untrue. High cortisol levels don't cause weight gain. They can cause an increase in appetite, which could lead to overeating. And they say some more sane stuff, but are we really here for the sanity? Please do your research. When you don't have enough to eat, it slows down your metabolism, which leads to weight gain. There are enough resources on the internet for you to look this up before telling others they're wrong. I'm 42 years old and have the stomach of a pregnant person. From the overproduction of cortisol, which makes it extremely hard for me to lose weight since it's not due to overeating, and a lifetime of food insecurities that kept me from being able to eat properly until 2 years ago. My caloric intake is rarely higher than 1,500 calories, and I largely eat a plant-based diet. Yet I still gained 20 pounds during the pandemic because of the lack of activity that I've been able to have. The bottom line is to do better and stop telling people who are overweight that they are that way only because they eat too much. It's harmful and just wrong. Slittertus Lucius replied, Shoo, those starving children in Africa. If only they could get enough cortisol. I guess they aren't under sufficient stress to gain weight. From Mel Glitterblood, found on a news article about prioritizing obese people for the vaccines. The entire comment section was a fiery train wreck of fat logic. I'm 5'4", and this morning I weighed 175.5 on my scale. That's a BMI of 30.1, obese. Yesterday I was 174.5, a BMI of 29.9, not obese. I'm getting my vaccine as soon as I can get an appointment. BMI is bunk. Someone else. I'm 5'3", and 170 pounds is a size 6 to 8 on me. That's my weight when I lean out and my muscles come through. I'm a hobby bodybuilder. Bodybuilders are frequently categorized as unhealthy when they add muscle to their frame. The first person. And I'm a size 10 to 12. It's kind of ridiculous. Huckster replied, I'm assuming purple's a girl, and OMG lady, if you are 5'3" and 170 pounds leaned out, you are not a hobby bodybuilder. You must be Miss Olympia, because the 5'3" ladies compete around 145 pounds. And if you are legit 170 pounds at low body fat, don't talk about BMI being bunk. BMI not applying to you does not equal BMI not having a function for vast majority of people who just live normal lives. I mean, I was at a 30 BMI at low body fat. No doctor, no friends, no one brought up my BMI, because it was obviously not applicable. If you are that much of an outlier, no one is going to say your BMI is high, ergo you are fat. Not to mention that competitive bodybuilders die much younger than the general population. So even if you take body fat outliers into account, BMI as a predictor of early mortality doesn't lose any value. It's hard to pick a worse group to be your champion if your argument is about health. The article they're referring to is by Jody A. Charnow. Mortality rate higher among bodybuilders. San Diego. Bodybuilders have a mortality rate 34% higher than that of the age-matched U.S. male population, according to a study presented at the American Urology Association 2016's annual meeting. If anyone's shocked by that, I don't think they're aware of what bodybuilders put their bodies through, and some of the substances that I'm not going to list here, which they put into their bodies, which are definitely not ideal. From Banana Lamp. Weight could never be the result of personal choices. Never! If you are a fat person who is not being accommodated by a chair, an airplane, an MRI, etc., know this. They knew fat people existed when they built those things, but chose not to accommodate us. That is discrimination. While it becomes our problem, it is never our fault. Someone kidnaps you? Not your fault. You ate the orange chicken at Cheesecake Factory, and then 2 slices of cheesecake, and then brought home 2 extra slices of cheesecake and another order of orange chicken to eat later in the day. That's your fault. From Splatter Matters. Pretty sure that's not how any of this works. This is why you need to read up on it, because there's no science of studies behind this. Just what our government has been telling doctors to tell us. Doctors should never have been in the business of giving advice about nutrition. They are not trained in it. Would you like your dentist to perform a full engine rehaul on your car? Of course not. Would you go to your auto mechanic to ask him about what to do about your sore molars? Of course not. They continue on. Let me put it this way to you. If someone exercises 6 hours per week but eats candy bars, cookies, cakes, soda pop, pies, and fast food, and it comes up to about 1,500 calories a day, do you think they will lose weight? No. Why? Because all those things have zero nutritional value and the body isn't able to process those to get the macro and micronutrients from the foods it needs. Actually, if she used her own logic, if you're unable to process them, you'd lose even more weight because your body would be absorbing 0 calories a day. Logic. It's hard. If someone were able to do the same exercise yet eat very healthy, with lots of low glycemic load veggies, and healthy meats and fish, and really healthy fat oils, yet it comes to a higher 2,500 calories per day, they will lose weight. This is why counting calories makes zero sense. Nutritional value of foods is what makes the difference, not caloric calories. I'd just like to take this moment to point out there's a guy who lost weight eating Twinkies and junk food. Therefore, this whole premise is a big, fatty Swiss roll. Short Girl Who Tries adds, "This is not only false, but it's also harmful. Here's the thing, I suffered from the eating disorder that starts with the letter O. And sounds a little bit like orthodontist. I had many fear foods and restricted myself to a perfect macro balance. Recovering from this involved me gaining a lot of weight, and now I manage my weight by reminding myself that food is food and calories are calories. Junk food has nutrients, just not as many as other foods might. I realize a balance is ideal, but there are not magical weight loss foods that you have to eat in order to lose weight. This is a huge myth that feeds disordered behavior. Maybe good nutrition involves more than just junk food, but eating disorders are often rooted in ritualistic food rules, and many of us recover and achieve a healthy weight by facing the truth that body weight is a numbers game, with no need to demonize or glorify particular foods." I'd like to take a second here and mention that dieting is a slippery slope for some people. It's like that chaos demonstration in Jurassic Park. When the raindrop falls on his knuckle, it has lots of different ways it can fall. What you want is to stay in the middle. If you fall on one side, you go into binge eating. Fall off another, ridiculous restriction levels. Another side, purging. Another side, over-obsession. Your goal is to try to stay in the middle. Healthy, but not too healthy, if that makes sense. This one was posted over in Diet Tea by Lisa. I don't know if I should feel bad or not. Angry Bitter Rant. I'm tired of stick-thin people on Instagram telling me to stop restricting and eat whatever I want. Seriously, fudge you. Nothing makes me angrier, makes me feel worse than seeing some girl that is probably a size 2 saying stuff like, "Eat whatever you want, you don't need to count calories, allow yourself all the foods you want, blah blah blah." Yeah, no, I can't, because I'm a fudging big butt, and I don't want to gain even more weight. It honestly feels like mockery at this point. I know I'm just jealous, and at some point I'm happy for them, that they apparently feel good about themselves, but all this just makes me feel terrible, because it reminds me that I'm not a size 2, yet I'm still stuck with 1,300 calories a day and can't eat a donut because it nourishes the soul. It makes me so angry to see these women. You are tiny. Clearly you are not eating everything you could possibly want, and saying you do is such a slap in the face to everyone else. Ugh. I'm not going to name names, but it's not even that hard to come up with a list of influencers like this, some of them on YouTube. They think they know what it's like being obese because once, after running a marathon, they ate a donut and drank a whole can of Coke. The whole can! They've never been at the Outback, ordered the 3 dessert sampler platter, and tried to eat it all by themselves after a large dinner, while their family looked on in disbelief. Not that that's ever happened to me. I'm doing better now. But intuitive eating, or at least the way some people interpret it, would have had me going, "That's what my body wants. It's a good thing I'm eating 3 desserts for dinner, on top of a steak, mashed potatoes, vegetables, bread, soup, soda, etc." You can imagine. Captain Cork posted something in fatlogic which made me aware of something that happened in Wales. I can't show you the whole article, but it appeared in The Guardian. 2 teenagers placed in foster care after weight loss plan fails. Family court judge says parents failed to help severely overweight children. The article is written by Nadeem Badshash, an agency. So what happened was the 2 teenagers were removed from their parents, and they're going to be put into long-term foster care. And before you get the wrong idea, before they took the children, they gave the family Fitbits, paid for a gym membership for the family, and also signed them up to Weight Watchers. So they had a lot of the tools they needed to lose the weight. But months later, the children hadn't lost any weight. There was no evidence that they'd been wearing the Fitbits, and they didn't go to the Weight Watchers very often. And on top of all that, there were poor home conditions, and the parents weren't providing enough guidance for the children on personal care. All of this happened in Wales. This is not the first time it's happened. As of 2014, 74 morbidly obese children in Wales have been taken from their parents. So what do you all think about that? Do you think the government should take away kids? when the parents are making no efforts to raise them in a healthy way? Or is this an example of government overreach? Now, mind you, you can't blame either Barack Obama, Trump, or Biden, because all of this happened in Wales. And now on to Dechonkers, where unfortunately I lost all of the names because of some changes that Reddit made. Next time I'll have them again. We're starting off with a black and white cat. He's mostly black, shiny fur, with a white patch on his belly. In the beginning, he kind of looks like a pillow, and in the end, where he's laying on a red blanket, he looks like he's in much better shape. So proud of him when I got him versus a year later. This is a cat named Shadow. In the first picture, he's a bit gray with a little bit of orange here and there, and he's a little bit chunky. In the second picture, he looks orange. I don't know what's going on, but he looks a little less chunky. It's very strange that the lighting would change his fur so much. Update on my chunk, Shadow. 18 pounds in May versus 14.8 pounds today. She's become so much more affectionate. Smile. And the next one, my parents got a foster cat today. We were supposed to help her lose some weight. I'm pretty new to this. Does anyone have advice? It's a gray cat with dark gray stripes. He kind of looks like a puddle when he's laying on the ground. In the first picture, he's laying by a vent, maybe to cool off, or to heat up, it's hard to tell. In the second picture, he looks like he's trying to hunt something under the front door. The next one's before and after our dear Susie in her favorite spot on the couch. Indeed, the cat's sitting in the same spot both times. It's actually hard to tell if the cat's lost any weight, because he's so fuzzy. But he's just a blackish gray cat, green eyes. In the next one, we have one of the laziest looking cats I've ever seen. I mean, if I were trying to look lazy, I wouldn't even be able to come up with positions as creative as this cat is doing. In the first one, he's laying on his back, looking at the camera like he could care less. In the second one, he's slumped all over the couch. Fat and Fabulous is on a diet. Advice needed. The next one's a shaggy looking cat. I could not tell you what color it is. Brown and gray and maybe some orange. In the first picture, maybe he's chunky, and in the second one, maybe he's less chunky, but it's hard to tell, again, because he's so fuzzy. Progress after 6 months dieting.